All right, what's up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast real estate tip, where every single week I come to you with different tips, tactics, and strategies to help you as real estate agents, team leaders, and brokerage owners ensure that you are dominating and crushing your overall real estate goals. All right, so here today we are here to talk about lead generation, how to become a lead conversion machine, and more specifically, why so many suck in our industry at lead gen, and how to fix this immediately. So again, you can become a lead conversion machine, regardless of what level that you're at. So look, I understand that some of you are realtors going after buyers and sellers. I understand that some of you are team leaders going after agent recruits, or maybe it's a combination of agent recruits and buyers and sellers. So we got realtors, team leaders, brokerage owners. All of these strategies that I'm going to share with you here today apply even if you're outside of real estate. Like when I was selling health club memberships and personal training packages, or as some of you know, I've got multiple different businesses outside of just my real estate business, where I run and operate one of the top teams in the United States and on the planet here in Phoenix, Arizona, but I also have a software business. I have a supplement business. Like, these things just apply to overall sales. So this can be inserted to any business out there. So I want to make sure that you know that. So then you're thinking, wow, this doesn't apply to me, even though I might use certain analogies today, whether it's buyers, sellers, or agent recruits. I want you to understand that all of these apply to all of us, right? When it comes to just becoming sales machines. All right. So, and the reason what inspired me to create this topic today is, look, when I'm having conversations with realtors, team leaders, and broker owners, there's two most common obstacles that I hear that they are experiencing, and lead gen is on the top of that list, or in the top two of those obstacles. When I'm breaking down and I start asking, okay, where's your business at? Where is it that you want to go? So like, where you're currently at, what are your overall goals? Now, what are the biggest obstacles that are blocking and prohibiting you from getting from where you're at to where you want to go? And this becomes a really important question to always be asking yourself, so then we know what those problems are we must solve inside of our businesses. If you want to become damn good at sales, you got to become a great problem solver. You want to become damn good at business, you also got to become a great problem solver. Like, the level of results that you experience in your real estate business will come down to the amount of your ability to identify and solve the problems that you are experiencing. And lead gen is always, again, top of that list. And then as I start peeling back the onion layers deeper, usually I'll start off with, lead gen. Well, then I'll ask them, okay, well, what are you currently doing for lead generation? Like walk me through what your current strategy is. Then it starts coming out to, well, I need higher quality leads. Then it comes down, it unpacks other problems and obstacles that they're experiencing, but when somebody says, I need higher quality leads, that then typically speaks to that they have an inability. Their true core problem is your inability to convert those leads to appointments at a high level. So what I'm going to be covering here today is twofold. I want to make sure that you understand and know how to generate leads at the highest possible level. Then from there, you know what to do to convert those leads into appointments at the highest possible level. All right. So before we jump into this, though, there's a couple, thought processes or ways of thinking that we need to adjust and we need to change, right? Because here's typically what I hear when I'm having these conversations. And whether it be agents in my own team or agents, team leaders, broker owners, as they're talking to me about wanting to come on to my coaching program, anything like that. I'll hear things like, oh man, I tried Facebook ads. They didn't work for me. Oh, I tried insert whatever, open houses, expireds, absentee owners, going after new agents, going after seasoned agents, cross-selling, like insert whatever, the niche or medium is, I tried it. It doesn't work for me. And I used to hear this back in my personal training days too, right? Well, I tried dieting, but it didn't work for me. I'm like, okay, there's 3,500 pounds, 3,500 calories in a pound. It's kind of a law of physics. Maybe you just didn't have the right diet, or maybe you just didn't know how to diet effectively. Same thing here, right? So the thought process that I want you to shift and change, because if we don't start with shifting our thought processes, AKA shifting our internal philosophies, you're not going to allow yourself to open up and do the necessary work that needs to be done, right? The same thinking got you to where you are at right now. Now, if you're okay with staying where your business is at right now and staying in the status quo and never having your business grow and expand, okay, cool. Then just don't change your way of thinking. But if you want your business to continue to grow, which I don't know why you'd be listening to this podcast if you didn't, we got to change our way of thinking. So what I want you to understand, I'm going to go through a couple different philosophies here with you that will serve you really well. At least that served me really well, and it's what allowed me to become one of the top, realtors, team leaders on the planet. is by abiding by these when it comes to sales and lead gen, is understand that everything works and nothing doesn't. So instead of allowing yourself to adopt kind of this victimhood, limiting belief, hindering mindset of, I tried it didn't work for me, instead being like, okay, yeah, I tried it, it didn't work, but then from there following up with, okay, what am I doing wrong? Like, what am I doing wrong here? Yeah, right? Like, understand everything works, nothing doesn't. So if I'm doing something, I know it works. Like, just understand it all works. It's just you are not working it properly. So the right question is, okay, what am I doing wrong? Where am I going wrong? What do I need to do improve at this thing, right? So those are the right questions, the right type of thinking that's going to allow you to experience growth. So understand that everything works, nothing doesn't. All right, so I want to get very tactical with these today and walk you through, some very tactical steps of again, how to become a lead gen and lead conversion machine. But real quick, before we jump into that, if you are interested in getting some advanced help to take your real estate business to the next level. My niche and specialty is helping realtors, team leaders, and broker owners grow and scale their business at fast possible rates, right? So if you're looking to grow and expand this highly successful real estate team, highly successful real estate business, that is my overall specialty. So if you are interested in setting up a 100% zero pressure Zoom call with me personally, and again, everything I do is zero pressure. So you're not going to be pressured, pushed, or sold here on these conversations. We're just going to have a conversation about your overall real estate business, where you're at, where you want to go, biggest current obstacles. Then from there, I'll spend a few moments going through that and talking about my coaching program options and seeing if they can possibly help you. But regardless whether you decide to move forward or not, I'm going to make sure that this call is powerful for you. So if you'd like to schedule that, go to gsdmode.com. There'll be a top banner there where you can schedule those, and these are with me personally. Or you can go to gsdmode.com, click on that coaching tab, and schedule that. Plus, at gsdmode.com, I highly recommend that you guys go there anyway, because there's more additional training, free resources. So if you enjoy these podcasts, these tips, that's going to be helpful there for you. And the reason why I've done a bad job over the years of plugging my coaching. I had somebody that just jumped into my coaching that I'm helping, again, greatly grow and scale their business. And the other day, they're like, man, I've been following your content for 6 years. I wish I would have found you earlier. I went through all these other coaching programs and, whatever. And man, like your program is so amazing, but the whole point of that was I wished I would have jumped in sooner, but I didn't know about it. So it just kind of came to the forefront of, okay, maybe I'm doing, not doing a good enough job here on these podcasts of letting you guys know that I have extremely affordable but extremely effective options to ensure that you crush your real estate goals. Okay, so now let's keep jumping on in here on how to become a lead gen, lead conversion machine. Okay, so mental philosophy number 2 that you must abide by. Or when I say this, like, you can do whatever you want to do. This is just what's helped me go out there and make over $50 million of gross commissions over my career and become one of the top, and it's served me extremely well. So if it's something you want to do, cool. If not, that's okay too. But if you want to continue to grow and scale your business year after year, you got to get good at being able to adapt and shift with the markets. You got to be good at being able to identify where the opportunities are in that given marketplace. So I look at this as, okay, I'm a residential real estate specialist. That's the niche that I specialize in, me and my real estate team here in Phoenix metropolitan area. Now, you might specialize in commercial other things, but this just applies to that, right? So thinking of insert whatever generalized niche that you are. So for me, residential real estate, 4 units or less, Phoenix metropolitan area is our geographical location. My job is to move that product, right? And over my almost 20 years of doing this, that is the one constant, right? So, the geographical location and the real estate itself, it's always traded hands, always has, always will, it's always moving. The variable that has changed is who's buying, who's selling, why are they buying, why are they selling, and that's what can shift to market. So my job is to become a specialist in the product itself. Then from there, I need to identify who's buying, who's selling, why are they buying, why are they selling, where are they going, where are they coming from? Because look, over your longevity of your career, you're going to have your market where it's good for different people. So I have properties today that we're selling for $700,000-800,000. That shit 10 years ago were $300,000. Maybe even $250,000, $300,000. So it's like, okay, properties today that are for the affluent, upper middle class and affluent, Maybe 10 years ago, we're first-time buyer properties. Yeah, right? I've had markets, so, these markets can change. I've had markets where it's been, distressed or going REO, short sales, investors, institutional, institutions. Who the market's good for will shift and change. So this is where this mental philosophy comes in so important, which is this. Understanding that there's no such thing as a good market or a bad market. The market's always good for somebody. It's our job as real estate professionals to identify whom the current market is good for and shift and adjust accordingly based on our energy, our focus, our prospecting, our marketing, our time to whom the market is good for. So with that, and now maybe you're out of production. Like me personally, my job as a full-time team leader is to make sure that my agents have the opportunities, the systems, the tools, the trainings, the skill sets to go out there and dominate. I'm not personally in production anymore. I'm a full-time CEO of my real estate business, full-time team leader, which is, again, what I know a lot of team leaders and brokerage owners are aspiring to go out there and be so you can grow and scale at a bigger level. But even though I'm not out there, slinging homes anymore, my agents are. So I got to make sure that they understand this and that they are armed with the right strategies and skill sets. So regardless of what level you're at, this is really important because obviously if you're out of production, you need your agents producing at a high level. Okay, so then from there, in order to do this, we need to identify, whom the current market is good for. So this comes down to, okay, who's buying, who's selling, what are they buying, what are they selling, why are they buying, why are they selling, where are they going, where are they coming from? That becomes really important. I know if you're in a semi, a market that gets a lot of reloads, like my market here in Phoenix. Okay, man, I know the top 20 states and I know all the metros within those states. And I know that within that order of where they're coming from, right? So that way I can target specific people that have the highest probability of moving to my marketplace. This becomes really important. I know the most popular, for this given time right now, because as you know, the market has shifted and changed dramatically in the last 18 to 24 months, right? So if you're doing the same shit that you did in 2018, 2019, 2020, and so forth, and you're trying to do that here in 2023 and going into 2024, you're probably getting crushed, right? And maybe your business is somewhat maintaining, but I'm sure it's not growing. I'm sure it's not expanding. We got it. What worked yesterday isn't always going to work today. So these things can shift, as I already explained before. Okay, so that's going to identify who we are going to go out there and target, who the current market is good for, and especially in a market like this, right? And speaking to the market that we're in right now, this is about a market of identifying who needs to buy and sell versus who wants to buy and sell. There are a lot of people that want to buy and sell, but are unable or unwilling to do so. So we need to identify those that truly need our services in this market. Now let's break down and get very tactical with this into strategy. So when it comes to strategy, so strategy is just your overall effective plan. And this is where so many go wrong. They're like, okay, well, I'm just going to go out there and do an open house, or I'm just going to go out there and do, a call expires. I'm just going to, but they don't take the time to make sure that they have the best overall effective plan, for that thing. So you want to make sure that you're taking the time to do your research, do your due diligence, and find out, what is the most overall effective strategy to go out there and convert and maximize this? Because again, we got this twofold. We got the lead inception. So generating the lead, then we have the lead follow-up that allows us to convert those leads to appointments. Now, I'm just going to make an assumption here on today's podcast. And I'm going to make this assumption that you're pretty damn good once you're face-to-face. Now, I'm not saying to give yourself permission to not improve there. Like if we look at industry average, it's like a 50% conversion rate from, appointment to client, which is a shit conversion rate. Like you should be hitting, well above, 85% on, your appointment conduction, to client ratios, but let's just assume that you're good at that. And we can maybe leave that for another podcast. So assuming that you're good at, because I want to be laser focused today on lead gen and lead conversion. So, from the getting that lead, until you've conducted that appointment, right? Or set that appointment to go out there and conduct that appointment. So that's just an assumption I'm going to make today so we can, be very specialized here. All right, so then from there, we've got to make sure that you have that right strategy. And so I want you to obsess over and master, like when you're looking at your activities that you are doing, that activity exists only to generate leads, any lead activity that you're doing for your real estate business. So when we start obsessing over and coming up with the most effective strategy to maximize and optimize the amount of leads that we are generating from that, whatever, that event, that activity, online, whatever it is, right? That's going to allow us to, again, just do that. Maximize and optimize on the number of leads that we are going out there and getting. So let's just say I'm doing a Facebook ad. Okay, well, I'm going to target the right people, and the people that I'm targeting, I understand who the right people are to target for this market. So as an example, like in my market, your market might be slightly different, but in my market right now, because the unaffordability crisis that we're facing right now, it's like, okay, it's pretty much like who I'm targeting is that 40 to 55-year-old married couples. So I know, who I'm targeting. I know the demographics. I know the psychographics, which I'll explain a little bit more about that here. So, I know that because if you're making under 150 grand a year household income, it's very hard to participate in the housing market, at least in my market right now. So I'm targeting, those that are in peak income earning years that have the money, have the means, and have the need to go out there and acquire real estate based on this market. So I know what they're looking for. These are move up buyers, man. I know what those, the zip codes, the cities, even the neighborhoods. I know those features that are in most demand. So if I'm running a Facebook ad, again, I'm going to run and target the right people in that ad. Then from there, I'm going to speak very specific. I'm not going to have a generalized ad, especially not in this market. I'm going to have a very specific ad that speaks specifically to the people I'm targeting. So an example of this, wow, check out these amazing homes currently listed for sale here in Peoria, Arizona, all featuring sparkling swimming pools, 4+ bedrooms, 3+ bathrooms, 3+ car garages, 2,400 plus square feet. I'm going to get very specific with the features I know what they want. And then in that price point, all currently listed between $600,000 and $900,000. Click the learn more button below to see property information, more property information, photos, price, monthly mortgage payments, and more, right? So I'm going to speak very specifically. My ad copy, everything is going to be speaking specific to them, right? So that comes onto that lead. That lead, we got to get that, inception of that lead. But then again, a mistake that most people make is they're just focusing on lead gen, but they don't focus on the conversion element. So when we're thinking of strategy, here's what I want you to do. I want you to obsess over, okay, from the second this lead comes in to the second they become a client, what is the overall most effective plan that I must have in place to make this a reality? So here's an example. So thinking of like detours that can happen in this process. And again, I'm going to get more specific with, what to, like how to come up with what to say and how frequent to follow up, all of this stuff, but thinking of detours. Right. So let's just say you set an appointment with somebody for an initial buyer consultation or listing presentation, and they no-show you. It happens. Right. Industry average is like a 50% show rate. You should be at a 75% or higher show rate. But but regardless of where you're at, you're never going to get a 100% show rate. So if you have somebody that no-shows you, well, most people just get pissed off. Like, oh, I can't believe they no-showed me. Freaking buyers, freaking sellers, freaking agents. Right. Like they get negative with it. Do not get emotional. You attach to the process. You detach from the outcome. So then from there, okay, I'm going to have an effective follow-up process. Like, what do I do in that detour situation? Okay, when that happens, I go to my Perfect Storm CRM. I just click a button. It's going to queue off a 26-day, 12-touch follow-up process. It's automatically going to email them 6 times. It's automatically going to task me 6 times to follow up with them over the next 26 days to rebook that appointment. Now, after 26 days, if they haven't rebooked it, then boom, it kicks back into my regular lead follow-up process. So then I just keep like, it's just keep following that process, man. Again, attach to the process, detach from the outcome. You want to stay neutral. You do not allow yourself to get emotional about these different things. You stay neutral. Attach to the process, detach from the outcome. Okay, so then from there, when it comes to maximizing and optimizing on lead gen and your overall lead conversion, you got to understand timeline and psychology of each different lead source. And this comes when it look, and as I'm saying these things, I know you might be thinking to yourself, oh man, this is just a lot of work. Okay, well, dude, it's less work than just aimlessly going out there and doing activities and aimlessly following up and aimlessly having shitty conversion rates and aimlessly having to exhaust and piss away money. That's what's a lot of work, right? Yeah, you got to do a little due diligence up front. And this stuff, right? Like this stuff doesn't take long. Like I can figure this stuff out in like 30 minutes, dude. Like this stuff doesn't take long, right? But this is, again, strategy is just your overall effective plan. So when we talk about lead generation strategy, what is your overall effective plan to generate that lead? And then from A to Z, once that lead is been created in your business, from A to Z, what is the best overall follow-up protocol to convert them at the highest level? That is how we come up with our overall strategy. In order to do this, you got to know a few things, but we're going to first start off with timeline and psychology. So timeline is understanding that every single lead source, and not some can be similar or the same, but for the most part, they are going to differ on timeline, meaning from lead inception all the way until they become a client, on average, what is that timeline? And this becomes really important. So this allows you then to identify and know how long you must follow up with each lead source and how frequent you must follow up with them, right? Then from there, and I'm going to give an example here, so this will kind of bring it full circle, because you got to understand the timeline of an open house is different from a Facebook lead, different from a Zillow lead. FSBO is different than an expired. A new agent that you're trying to recruit is different than a seasoned agent. All of them are going to have different timelines, right? Then from there, so timeline allows you to know how long I need to follow up and how frequent I need to follow up. Then the psychology allows you to know what your message must be. What great marketing and great salespeople understand and know is that they need to enter the conversation taking place in that prospect's mind, right? So the more that you understand what their concerns are, what their objections are just another word for concerns, what their concerns are, right? The more that you're going to be able to develop that rapport, the more confidence that they're going to have to be able to work with you. You got to remember that when we are selling, and because like people, especially in real estate, people already sold on the fact they want to buy and sell real estate, or if you're selling on why to join your team or brokerage, people already sold on a career in real estate, right? What we are doing is just articulating that we are the best guide to get them from where they're currently at to where they want to go. And sales is just pain and pleasure. They have a pain with their current situation. They want to get out of that pain, and they want to get to the pleasure that they desire. Our job is to articulate that we are the best guide to get them from that pain, to get them from that pleasure. Now, then from there, they are going to have these concerns. They're going to have these roadblocks that block them from getting to point A to point B. We need to identify and understand what these are and just remove these roadblocks. So the more that you understand going into it, this lead gen strategy of already what those potential roadblocks are going to be and those concerns are going to be, okay, well, we can come up with the solutions to those problems. So timeline and psychology. So timeline shows how long you're going to follow up, how frequently you're going to follow up. Psychology is what your message is going to be during that follow-up protocol and how you need to structure it, as well as structuring, so whether it's prospecting or whether it's marketing, this also comes down to structuring your ads. So like in that Facebook ad example that I just gave you a moment ago, I'm speaking specifically, I'm giving people within my ad of what I know that they want, but I'm speaking specifically to them. They're not general ads, they're speaking specifically to this specific type of person, right? And then, so that's the psychology, right? Then with a timeline, I know that the average Facebook lead is going to be in my CRM for 6.7 months before they become a client. It's a longer term nurture source. So if I'm too aggressive, too pushy with that lead, like the whole goal of that lead is to develop that rapport, develop that connection. So in that 6 to 9 months range, when they are ready, I've got the connection, I've got the rapport, they're thinking of me, boom, I get that business, right? So what are things that they sell? This is an example of psychology. Pretty much, I'll just use a Facebook buyer lead as an example, right? I understand when they come in, they're all going to say, we're just browsing, we're not looking. So I just mirror match that language, and I match that before because I know that that's a sales resistance I'm going to get. So to make them feel comfortable, I just match that. Hey, so before they even say it, it's just, hey, I know that you're just browsing, probably not looking to make a move now or anytime at all in the near future, right? So I'm just matching and mirroring their language, right? With that, and making sure that we're crafting those overall effective messages, and whether it be email, text, phone calls, this becomes extremely, extremely important. So understand timeline and psychology. All right, so process itself is extremely important, and the process is really going to be established by the timeline. So that's, what you're sending, when you're sending, how you're delivering it, where you're delivering it. So here's an example. I get a Facebook lead. And this is going to be, again, I'm just using Facebook as an example. This is going to apply to everything. But I get a Facebook lead that comes in. My process is going to be autoresponder email, autoresponder text message, meaning an immediate email and text, right? Then they're going to automatically be put on my 1,000-day email text strip plan. So messaging going out automatically for the next 1,000 days through email and text strip plan in my Perfect Storm CRM. Then from there, I'm going to have the system automatically task me to start doing my calls. My calls are going to be same day, then every other day for the first 14 days, then every 21 days for the first year. Now, those only exist until I get them on the phone, right? I identify what their expectations and what their time frame is. Then I adjust that accordingly. So whether they're 6 months or less, 6 to 12 months, 12 plus months out, that is going to then adjust that frequency, right? So then from there, I set them up on instant property alerts. I also do 5.5 average mass emails that go out per month. So that is my overall process. And again, extremely important. But equally, if not more important, is how you speak to that lead that prospect, that lead, and this is true whether it's inbound or outbound, how you speak to them, what you say, when you say it, the questions that you ask, the tone. 70% of sales is through verbal and nonverbal cues, right? So you got to slow down the process, which is tough for me. Like I've got to be very, not tough for me, but was something that was a skill set I had to acquire and be very intentional with, because I'm not go a million miles an hour, high energy kind of guy. Well, if I speak to a prospect or a lead in the way that I might conduct these podcasts or whatever, it's going to freak them the fuck out, right? Like they're going to shut down. They're going to go into fight or flight mode, and I'm going to have little to no success with my overall conversions. We got to understand that. So your delivery of what you say, when you say it, how you say it becomes truly important, right? So in order to do that, I want you to understand what the consumer wants today. And if you nail these couple things I'm going to tell you right here, yeah, we got to nail the process. But then if you understand these things, now these things again apply to from that first conversation, every conversation that we ever have with them, whether it's prospecting, or marketing. So whether it's inbound, outbound, or cold calling, whatever it is that you're doing, this 100% is important and extremely important. This is probably the most important thing that you can understand to become a lead conversion machine today, is what the consumer wants, and just give them what they want, right? So what the consumer today wants is they want the information that they need to make their best informed decision for themselves and their family, but they want to do that in a non-pushy, non-pressure, non-salesy environment. So we got to give them what they want. The worst, most least effective way of selling is old school, hardcore, pushy sales tactics. And the good news about that is I know that most of you, don't enjoy selling that way. But the good news with that, like I get realtors or team leaders or broker owners come to me all the time, like, man, I know I need to sell, but man, I don't like being salesy and pushy. I don't want to be that person. I'm like, good, because nobody else wants you to be either. And it's the least most ineffective way to possibly go out there and sell, right? The most effective way to go out there and sell is what I call selling without selling. The consumer wants to buy, like people love to buy, they love to sell, they love to go out there and consume. They just don't want to feel like they're being sold. Right. And that becomes the most, that just understanding that. So I'm going to give the consumer then what they want, right? I'm going to make them feel comfortable. I'm going to make them feel safe. People are more sensitive now in this information age that we are in than ever before. So this comes down to what I call pre-framing and reframing, right? So just like thinking about before we enter any conversation, what can I do? How can I say this? And so we're just, this is what pre-framing is. How can I say this in a way that they don't feel threatened, they don't feel pushed, they don't feel pressured? So an example of this is why I have a very strict absolute no pressure policy inside my business. Because number one, I know it's what people don't want to experience that. Yeah, right? So I just give people what they want. So everything in all my business, I have a very strict absolute no pressure policy. So it's, hey, so every time I'm having a conversation with a prospect, lead, whatever you want to classify that naming convention as, it's just letting them know that, hey, just so you know, I've got a very strict absolute no pressure policy inside my real estate business. So you never have to worry about being pushed, pressured, sold, any of that. When I'm in a sales situation, I can't stand when somebody's hard selling, hard pushing, hard pressuring me. It's such a turnoff. I don't believe in treating others how I don't want to be treated. So I want you to understand and know that you never have to deal with that with me personally. Everything that I do and what I'm here for is to provide you with all the information that you need to make your best informed decision for yourself and for your family. And whatever that decision is, that's okay. Right? So like an example, like when I'm getting ready to set a buyer consultation, like I'll let them know, hey, the sole purpose of this meeting is to give you all the information that you need. I'll slow it down a little bit. I'm just, for essence of time here in this podcast, I might be saying a little bit faster than normal, but hey, just so you know, the sole purpose of this meeting is to provide you with all the information that you need to make your best informed decision for yourself and for your family. And whatever that decision is, it is okay. Like at the end of this meeting, you may decide that, hey, maybe home ownership's for you. Now just isn't the time. And hey, that's okay. Maybe you decide that, hey, home ownership isn't for you ever, and that's okay too. Hey, maybe even you decide that home ownership is for you. Now is the time. You just don't like or don't feel comfortable moving forward with me as your real estate agent. That's okay too. Like I said, the sole purpose of this meeting is to give you all the information that you need to make your best informed decision. So for yourself and for your family. And as I've told you before, I've got a very strict absolute no pressure policy, blah, 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 right? So like just going like, so making them feel comfortable, right? Getting them, you're going to get higher show rates. You're going to have better conversations. You're going to have people open up about what those true core objections are. So pre-framing and reframing. So reframing, so that pre-framing is to get them to open up and be honest with you. Right? To get them to do what we need them to do. Yeah, right? through the next potential, part of that process, right? And I'm not saying these things as a way of manipulation, right? Like I look at this as, okay, if I have a lead, and let's just say it's a buyer lead or a seller lead too, but let's use buyer lead as this example, or even an agent recruit, right? Let's just use an agent recruit example for this because I know I've been using a lot of buyer seller examples, right? Like when an agent comes to me, hey, why should I join your organization? Hey, I'm not sure yet that you should. I need to learn more about you, more about your business, more about where you're at, more about what your overall goals are to be able to possibly know if we'd be a right fit for each other. Look, I know that when you talk to other team leaders or other brokerage owners, they're going to all give you the same pitch. We got the best training, we got the best systems, we got the best support, and I believe that we have the best of those things too. However, there is no best team or brokerage. It's about you deciphering and figuring out what the best environment is for you. And if we're all telling you the same things, how can you discover that and decide that? It's very difficult to do that. So what I recommend is come in and experience us. And so I'm inviting them into an event, so how can you possibly know what the best environment is for you if we're all telling you the same things? That becomes very difficult. So I found that the best way for you to make up that, to come to your own decision on who's best for you is to come in and experience this. I'd like to invite you into our weekly mastermind where you can come check us out, see what we're all about. You can also then interview and have conversations with other agents inside our organization. Look, nobody's handcuffed. Nobody's forced to be here. Everybody that's here chooses to be here. So and when we're talking, look, I'm going to tell you how great we are because I truly believe that we are great. I want you to also hear it from other people. But then from there, look, we're not for everybody and not everybody is for us. So after the mastermind, we'll sit down and spend a few minutes going through where your business is at, where your goals are at, what that looks like, and see if we can possibly help you and see if we're a possible fit for you. Right? So, making sure that I'm pre-framing that, I'm pre-framing that conversation to make them feel extremely comfortable and make it where it makes sense. So it doesn't make it like, okay, we're against each other in the sales conversation. Makes it like we are sounding like, hey, we're figuring this out together. You always want to be with, not against. The surest way to piss off a prospect, a lead, or even a client is to try to prove them wrong, right? Like you want to be together, not against, right? So pre-framing and reframing allows that. Now, how reframing comes into play is if anybody starts to, if they start to feel like they're kind of, like sales resistance is coming in, they're kind of starting to shut down. Okay, well, I want to reframe them back to, this is where, okay, if I start to sense that, I might be like, hey, and just a reminder, we've got a very strict absolute no pressure policy inside of our organization. So you're never be pushed, pressured, or sold. In order for me to help serve and support you at the highest possible level with your real estate goals, it's really important for me to have full clarity on what is that you want, what your expectations are, and what your timelines are. So I apologize if any of my questions or in any part of our conversation today made you feel otherwise. Again, you're the boss. I work for you. Whatever you want to do, we're going to go out there and do that. But again, in order for me to serve, support, and help you at the highest possible level, I need to know what's going on. Right? So then that way I can kind of reframe and get them back into that comfort zone. So then that way we can move that process forward. So give the customer what they want, right? Throughout these conversations. This becomes extremely, extremely important. One of the best decisions I ever made in my overall real estate business that maximized and optimized my conversions was instituting this very strict absolute no pressure policy. But then from there, understanding when and how to incorporate that into our conversations to make people feel comfortable. Because again, I want you to understand that we've got the process itself, extremely important. But then from there, you can have the process dialed in and still have lower conversions than you should, right? You got to know what to say, when to say it, how to say it. Got to give people what they want, make them feel extremely comfortable with you. I heard a gentleman years ago, say that, look, we're not actually selling products and services. We're selling decisions and good feelings about those decisions, right? So my job, because people already sold in the fact they want to buy real estate, or they're already sold in the fact that they want to have a career here in real estate. My job is to then, again, sell those decisions that they're making a good decision, right? Like meaning getting them from where they're at to where they want to go, selling decisions and good feelings about those decisions. So, because again, as real estate professionals, we aren't selling the product, right? Like they're already sold on the fact they want to buy or sell real estate. They're already sold on the fact that they want to have a career in real estate. Our job is to articulate that we're the best guide to get them from where they're at to where they want to go, whether it's a buyer seller or whether it's, an agent thinking about joining your organization. That's what we must articulate to them. But we need to be able to identify what those potential problems are that they're going to experience. So like right now, if I'm going after, let's just say I'm going after expireds, which is one of the niches that we go after in the resale part of my business. Okay, well, they wanted to sell, but they maybe are holding off on selling right now because of interest rates. Okay, well, if I understand that that's a problem, okay, I can quickly overcome that problem and that obstacle, right? So when we understand those, then from there we know how to overcome those, identify those, and keep that conversation moving forward. So make sure that you're giving the consumer what they want, you understand that. Making them feel extremely comfortable, right? You always want to be disarming that sales resistance. Otherwise, they go into fight or flight mode. They're not listening to you. They shut down and they just go into kind of that reactive response mode, right? Then they're giving objections that they don't even know why they're giving them. They just want to get out of this freaking sales situation that seems so familiar and so uncomfortable to them. So this becomes really important. Now, the great part about this is you don't need to reinvent the wheel with any of this, right? First thing that I do when I look at, going after a new lead gen strategy, I'm like, okay, who's crushing with this? Who do I know is already high converting with this? Okay, what are they doing? Let me reverse engineer what they're doing, not just to generate the lead, but then step by step with that overall follow-up protocol to go out there and convert those leads into appointments at the highest possible level. So the first question I'm asking myself, okay, who is a freaking badass at this thing? And let me go reverse engineer their things. Okay, and if they're not willing to jump on a phone call with you, okay, go opt into their funnels. Yeah, right? Like, okay, you can still get this in other ways of figuring that stuff out. All right, so in speaking of not reinventing the wheel, again, if you were interested in taking your real estate business to the next level and looking at potentially considering, me to be able to coach and mentor you at doing so, you can go to gsdmode.com, click on that top banner or gsdmode.com, the coaching tab, schedule 100% zero pressure discovery Zoom call with me personally, where we'll discuss your business, where you're at, where you want to go, current obstacles. I'll help you craft a roadmap of what to do to get you from where you're at to where you want to go. Yes, I'm going to spend a few minutes with you talking about, my coaching program and seeing how it can possibly help you. If it's a fit for you, great. If not, that's okay too. Look, we can still be friends. Like I said, everything I do is zero pressure. So that's something that you have interest in. Go do that. Check that out. Also, gsdmode.com. Check out more free resources, more training and whatnot on there. But again, if I can, kind of summarize this podcast with a few things, make sure that you've got the right strategy. That's your overall effective plan. Understand timeline and psychology, and that will help craft your overall strategy with that. Understand what the consumer wants and give the consumer what they want. These will greatly, greatly increase your overall conversion rates. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Remember that 70% of the overall, success with any conversation, whether it be over the phone, in person, it's your verbal and nonverbal cues that are 70% of it. So, acquiring those right skill sets so what pacing, you got to slow things down, right? I know we're enthusiastic salespeople. We're excited about what we do. We got to slow things down when we're having these conversations so they can actually think about it. The faster you are, the more salesy you're going to sound. You need to sell without sounding at all like a salesperson. Right? We want to show them that we are, and hopefully this is true for all of us. I know for me, with let's just say buyer client, seller client, agent recruit, whatever, I'm truly genuinely interested and serious and committed to helping them at the highest possible level. So in order for me to do that, I need to understand and know where they're at, what their concerns are, what's most important to them. I need to know these things so I can serve, support, and help them at the highest possible level, which I'm 100% committed to doing. So I know that all of our hearts are in the right place, right? We got to make sure that they feel that way. Right? So that feeling is extremely important, making sure that they feel like we are truly, genuinely here to help them, right? Which we are, right? The hard part or the part that most go wrong with this is they don't articulate what is truly, in their heart to these prospects, so they just come across as a salesy person that doesn't care about them. And by just being salesy, you're already showing that you don't care about them. Right? And I'm not saying that that's intentional on your behalf. That's what's going on in the consumer's mind. So just understanding that, right? So understand what the consumer wants, making sure that you're being very intentional with reframing and pre-framing these conversations so that way you can say the thing that you need to say where it's open, it's well received, and you can get the response that you need to get so you can then see if you can truly go out there and serve and support and help these people. All right, you guys, hope that this is helpful. Make sure that you are becoming lead gen, lead conversion machines. Follow these steps, these processes, and you 100% will. All right, keep crushing it, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.